Reilly. I'm a junior here at Creighton. Today I'm going to be talking about the life history of Steve Jobs. I wanted to do this just because I have seen the Steve Jobs movie, and just as a person in general, I feel like he's very interesting considering that he definitely turned our world around in a way that very much made a difference, I feel like, in different ways. We're really reliant on technology now, and I don't think that we would be to the level that we currently are if it were not for Steve Jobs kind of to start that revolution in a sense. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about the history of his life. So, Steve Jobs was born in 1955 to two University of Wisconsin grad students who ended up giving him up for adoption. His father, Jandali, was a Syrian political science professor. His mother, Sheba, worked as a speech therapist. His parents, who ended up adopting him, were named Clara and Paul Jobs and named him Stephen Paul Jobs. He grew up living in Mountain View, California, that is now known as Silicon Valley. He would work on electronics with his father in their family garage. They would take apart and reconstruct electronics, a hobby that gave him the confidence in his mechanical skills. Jobs was extremely intelligent in school, but lacked the discipline to stay focused in most of his classes. He dropped out of college after 6 months and spent the next 18 months in creative classes at school. Back in high school, he had met a guy named Wozniak, who he would work on electronics with. In 1976, him and Wozniak started Apple Computer in the Jobs family garage. They funded their venture by selling Jobs' Volkswagen bus and Wozniak selling his beloved scientific calculator. Together, they democratized technology and made machines smaller and accessible to everyday consumers. Wozniak conceived of selling user-friendly personal computers, and Jobs was in charge of marketing. Apple initially sold the computers for $666 and ended up earning $774,000 in gross profits. A few years later, the second model was released, and their profit increased by 700% to $139 million. Steve Jobs hired marketing expert John Scully of Pepsi-Cola to take over role of CEO for Apple. The next several products of Apple started to suffer design flaws, and there were a lot of recalls. On top of that, Scully believed Jobs was hurting Apple, and so he was trying to phase him out. Jobs ended up leaving Apple in 1985. Jobs started a new hardware and software enterprise on his own called Next Inc. It ended up being sold in 1996 for $429 million to Apple. In 1997, Jobs returned to Apple as CEO and was able to revitalize the company in the 1990s. Jobs gave himself an annual salary of $1. Jobs also purchased Pixar in 1986 and invested $50 million of his own money. Pixar netted $4 billion as Jobs as the largest shareholder. Jobs and Lauren Powell were married in 1991. The pair met in the early 1990s at Stanford Business School, where Powell was a student. They ended up living together in California and had three children named Reed, Aaron, and Eve. He also had had a daughter with his girlfriend, Chrisanne Brennan, when he was only 23 years old. This was quite the dramatic turn of events because he denied paternity until Lisa took a DNA test proving that she was his daughter, and when she was a teenager, they figured this out, and so she went to go live with her father later in life. In 2003, Jobs learned that he had a neuroendocrine tumor, which is a rare but operable form of pancreatic cancer. Jobs very much so tried to keep his health under wraps when it came to the press and publicity, as he tried to hide that he was suffering from shareholders. He had a surgery to remove the tumor, but shortly after suffered great weight loss, and rumors speculated that his health issues had returned. In January 2011, Jobs announced he was going on medical leave. In August, he ended up resigning as CEO of Apple and handed the reins to Cook. Jobs ended up dying in Palo Alto on October 5, 2011 at 56 years old. His last words were, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." So yeah, that's kind of the overview of the life of Steve Jobs. I think he's just very interesting. I think it's crazy that he started Apple and actually ended up getting the boot in a sense, getting kicked out of Apple. And then the moment he left, Apple started to decline greatly in sales and success. And so they had to bring him back. And I just think that really spoke to his creative genius and I thought it was also interesting, like learning about his personal life and how he had like a lot of drama going on while building this business with like the daughter that he didn't know he had initially and then found out later about. And so I just think like overall his life is very interesting. And yeah, I think he's a very, very interesting now historical figure considering that he passed in 2011. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it.